Imagine falling asleep at a stoplight with your 2 children in the back seat. That was my guest, Nicole Hope Sylvester, and that was kind of her wake-up call. So her body had said, enough is enough, and it launched her into a journey of nervous system healing, sheer immersion, and living in just raw alignment. And in today's episode, she's showing us how to stop running in kind of like a survival mode and just start actually living. It's a powerful conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. This is Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure podcast. Final thing to say, don't miss the giveaway during the midpoint of the show. Enjoy. So Nicole, tell me, what was that one piece in time, if you could pick one out, that kickstarted it all for you?
That one moment is me falling asleep at a stoplight with both my children in the car. Because my body was so... Isn't that an insane concept, right? So that was... I fell asleep at a stoplight, not because I was like doing... You know how a lot of people's stories are like, oh, I turned to this to fix this, whatever. I was so... My nervous system and my body had broken down so much that I fell asleep because I was so exhausted. Like, that I couldn't even stay awake at the stoplight. And that was obviously when you wake up and you're sitting at a stoplight, someone's honking at you, and you realize that your 3-year-old and your 6-year-old are in the back of the car, and you've just been kind of taking a nap it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and it wasn't hardcore time. Then you start getting really curious about what's going on inside your body, instead of thinking that it's a thinking game. And that's the core shift that I needed to make some real change in my own life. I was old enough to like start thinking through like what I was doing that wasn't working, right? And at that time I was actually teaching fitness. I was teaching fitness and nutrition to people. So I was like, my workout game was on point, and my food was on point, and my kids were old enough where, I wasn't awake all night. Although I will tell you, those first 10 years of my children's life, I did not get a lot of sleep. So, but my body literally was my body was a mess. And I will offer that the other really interesting piece that occurred to me was I would wake up in the morning, and I'm not sure if anyone can identify or relate to this. I would wake up in the morning and like already in a state of anxiety, and I would imagine this, I don't know if this sounds gross, but it's true. I would imagine zipping off the outer layer of me. It's not a costume. It wasn't like it was completely on me, but whatever this persona was, if you will, in those moments, I would wake up and go, I just want to zip this off and then just like go be me somewhere else. And that was, I could feel it viscerally in my body, which come later to find out that's my adrenaline and my norepinephrine and my cortisol blasting through my body. I'm a very sensitive person, and I think so many of us are, especially those who run into these kinds of pivotal moments where you've gotten sick or something really dramatic's happened to mind, body. And that was the actual sensation I could feel. I would wake up feeling already cortisol like blasting through my body. Now I can notice it. I can be aware of it when my anxiety pumps up really high or my stress levels pump up, and it almost feels like fire, which is a fascinating concept because if misinterpreted by the brain or misinterpreted by my awareness, that can go in a lot of different directions. Now I'm just like, whoa, pause, take a pause, calm down the body, and we'll, make some decisions from there. But in our current society, kind of this overreactive society, because everyone's got that super pump on. I feel like everyone's got their pump on. That pump from the gym where you leave and you're like, yeah, right? Like, I did it, crushed it. And that,
I'm
that
usually
comes
crying.
from. Okay. Well, yep, that's another version of it too. Well, that means you got a good workout, hopefully.
Yeah, I suppose.
I love that so much. But that kind of testosterone-y adrenaline pump that people leave gyms with or are in the middle of their workout maybe. So at the end they're crying, but right in the middle they're feeling a pump. Like that is partially that everybody's in. I think we've really created a societal norm where you're in your pump, which really is to some degree a nervous system that's dysregulated, that's been exposed to continuous ongoing stress. And so you really are, to some degree, in your nervous system pump. I've never said it that way, but you are, because you're ready to go. Like it's go time. I'm hyper aware. I'm hyper nervous or, wondering what's going on and hyper ready to fight, right? That, that high level state in the nervous system where just like, let's do this. Let's that sympathetic state of reactivity. Now I'm associating with going to the gym and like over pumping, but maybe not. Stress is stress though. And I think that's one thing that people forget too. Like they're like, oh, I'm really stressed out. I'll go to the gym and do this hardcore workout. And because I taught fitness, there is a real beautiful moderation line where stress is stress and your body doesn't care which stress it is. So like, yes, a good workout can help you down regulate, but a too hard workout will actually create more dilemma for your body.
I have this watch thing and it tells me all about like the different stress and different stress types that I go through throughout the day and for how long and how much recovery I would then need to be to regulate that stress level as well. It's so cool. But anyway, a couple of things I wanted to pick up on then. First is what happened in the car? Did you when you woke up?
I woke
Everyone's
up.
okay, right?
I woke up because someone was honking at me. We drove home, but that was the pivotal moment, right? Well, like when you're as the mama bear, where you've just put your cubs in danger. Gosh, like I'm getting really metaphorical. You start going, something's not right, and you better fix it fast. So of course, my anxiety mind was like, you're sick, you have a disease, blah, 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 because that was kind of my go-to story. That was my anxiety story. That whenever I was in high anxiety, that's what I went back to. You're sick, you have a disease, which is fascinating. And I would offer that we all try to avoid that because the body's always listening. So don't keep that as your story. And then from there, I started trying a bunch of different things. So I saw a functional medicine person, and to like start regulating my food even more, trying to figure out what was going on. And I did acupuncture, which was really, really beautiful. Acupuncture was huge for me because I was there to kind of clear my mind. Because what I would offer is that not only was my physical body in disrepair, like in the sleep mode, I couldn't sleep well. And then obviously I fell aside from apparently at stoplights. That was my sweet spot for sleep. And on top of that, though, I had heartburn. I kept getting flare-ups for rashes. There were points where my jaw was so tight. I was seeing the dentist, and I was just like, I have pain in my gums. And he's like, you're fine. Like they were taking x-rays and testing and da-da-da. You're fine. I had pain in my lower abdominal area, as well as kind of like IBS kind of stuff. But like pain, and I was going to the doctor and their x-ray and stuff. You're fine. I had weird vision things, like little floaties. I would go when saw that. So I was trying to attack this like very intentionally, right? And and all of it was just like, you're good. We don't know what's up with you, right? I would have like pain in my muscles, not from workouts, or be so exhausted. I was on a walk with my family, like we were on a walk, right? I've done triathlons and all of that, and we're on a walk, and I can barely walk. Like I'm holding myself up as we're going, and the aha moment that came to me as I read this article about this man who had all these similar symptoms, done a lot of the similar things, and figured out that it was actually just stress.
All of that was just stress.
It was stress. It was a stress reflex from the body going, hey, it's too much. It's too much. And if you don't take care of this for us, we're going to take you out. Like we're going to take you down. And that is literally what was happening to me. And I mean, I had a psychologist at the same time, therapist. I was like even going in that mental space, my psychologist told me I was an Olympian at anxiety and eventually kind of gave up on me. He was just like, I think you should just try meds. We don't know what to do. And I was like, great. I don't know. And that's not a bad thing. It just
Yeah.
wasn't for me. I'm very like holistic. That's kind of that's my zone. So at some point, I did end up seeing a spiritual counselor who ran energy on my body, which was, I did not know anything about that, similar to acupuncture. And that actually calmed. I left with like calm in my brain and in my body. And that was huge. Like, okay, what is this? So let's just come back to acupuncture or even just to understanding the physical body. It was my nervous system regulating.
Yeah. So tell me more about how that works, the nervous system, and what that does for you. Because from my perspective, I've never really taken much notice of that kind of thing. I've always just been, as we were talking about before we started recording, I've just been eat right and go to the gym and go outside. That's pretty much all I've been when it comes to the body itself. So tell us more about the nervous system and how that works.
Yes. So most people don't even think about it because nobody's told about it, right? I taught first grade. If I could go back to first grade and teach these kids about the nervous system, it would be the very first thing I did. Like, here's how to be aware of the feelings and sensations and emotions in your body so that you can make better choices for you. Like, calm yourself back down and make better choices for you that will ultimately, in that self awareness, shift the entire trajectory of your life. But we are a very mind oriented society, I would say, universally, aside from maybe more tribal living, right? We are very brain. I'm going to think my way through this. It's all my thought process and it's always my, perspective. And all those things matter. But in a nervous system way, in the way that our mind and our bodies communicate, 80% of information that travels to, that is in discussion between the mind and the body, 80% is from the body up to the mind, and 20% is down, which means that when the nervous system feels threat and it's sending all these signals and we feel anger, emotions, all these different things, then the mind is essentially taking the data from the nervous system, from our sensory elements, right? Our sight, our sound, like the sounds, right? Our hearing and our physical body sensations. And it's trying to process, a supercomputer brain is trying to process what information matters from that circumstance. So imagine now a body over years that has just not been listened to. And we've held a lot of that stuff in. The brain is then always processing something. That was my anxiety. I'm so
Right.
stuck
Okay.
in my body and in my nervous system that something's always wrong, that something's always wrong. That's how my body always felt. Something's always wrong. Nervous system dysregulation. I'm always in a sympathetic state. I'm always in a fight or flight or freeze. There's a bunch of them, or fawn state where my brain is just trying to figure out what it is. And then what does the brain do best? Tries to predict what's wrong and what I need to do about it. So the curious space of that is you've got this body that's like, I call it like a fire alarm. Imagine like 100 fire alarms going off inside your body, yelling to the brain, and the brain's just like, like 100 different computers trying to figure out what that's about and what that's about, making predictions. What do I do now to stay safe and alive? Because we are primal animals. I refer to it as just being it's the primal fear alarm, because we aren't meant to be living this way, and that's fine. I love that we live this way. I love cell phones. I love technology. But really, we were supposed to be out in the woods, right? So I've got all of this stuff going on inside me, yelling at the brain. The brain's predicting, what do I need to do to stay alive? Which is really all it bears down to. And it's just making the next, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Coming up with tons and tons of different scenarios. And then re-looping and double checking that those will actually work. And so you end up, when the body is in a stress state, especially for a long time, you end up in this closed loop circuit of prediction and solutions that cause more predictions and solutions. And all of it is made up.
Amazes me and baffles me, quite frankly, I'll be honest, what the mind can do.
Mm-hmm.
What it can do I was talking about this the other day with one of my, so I've got another podcast which I host with a couple of other coaches, and we were talking about NLP and all that kind of thing. It just blows my mind what the brain can do in the subconscious. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying that you felt like was it like a physical burning sensation that you were feeling when you were in this stress zone? Talk a bit more about that. What was that like? That must have been potentially scary, depending on how you interpreted it, as you said.
Right? So our bodies speak to us in so many different ways. But I think the most important thing for us all to really recognize is that the nervous system is primal, meaning all it ever cares about is how to stay alive. And people probably won't love this, that includes love, by the way, how to stay alive and how to stay safe. And whole side story is that I generally believe that when someone is hearing I love you, it just means now I'm safe. And then in our kind of current diction, like I love you, when you're in reception of that means, okay, you're safe. Like a mom's telling her kid, I love you. Okay, child now knows I'm safe. My mom loves me. I get to be taken care of, all the things, because we're mammals and we need somebody to love us to stay alive for a majority of our youth, right? Anyway, um, but all of those sensations are the ways that my body is trying to talk to me so that I will have an emotion and then take action. That's all the body is ever trying to get us to do, is to have agency in our own life. So, and that action doesn't even necessarily have to be physical. It can just be a decision, but it's trying to make us aware. Like one way I offer this is to picture a body as this satellite dish, taking in data from your external world 24 hours a day, aside from when you're sleeping, which is like your reboot time. And if we're the satellite dish taking in information and we have this kind of primal nervous system, then what are we taking information about? Am I safe? Am I safe? Period. Because our goal in life is truly to stay alive. And then in a higher level, right? We want to be happy and all those kinds of things. But really it's to stay alive. That's the body's job, is to say, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to keep you alive, which means I'm going to be aware and on point, making sure you stay alive. And from a different perspective, a different lens even, what is the point of being alive? To experience life. So that satellite dish is also taking in all this data and these visions so you can experience life and have the human experience, right? So there's two different ways to look at it. I love both of them. And I think we have to really honor that primal piece, because that's these original sensations, including happiness. I'm taking in data. I look awe, right? I climb a mountain. I look out. Oh my goodness, my body's filled with a sensation of awe. I know that resonates with me. I know this feels good. This is a thing for me. This is aligned for me. So that's data as well from both perspectives. Understanding that all this kind of raw data that's coming in from the body being processed by the mind is really just at that baseline for safety and staying alive really changes how we can take in that information. So in the scope of feeling that discomfort in my body, generally it just requires some level of curiosity. Curiosity cures everything, right? If I just get curious, if suddenly right now you and I are having a discussion and all of a sudden my body fills up with this uncomfortable sensation, that adrenaline feeling, which almost always, right, accompanied with some heart palpitation and my jaw tensing up. But those are all very animalistic, primal things. Why do you clench your jaw? Because your jaw is how you stay alive, by consuming food. If your jaw gets broken out in the woods, you're done. So why do you clench your jaw? Protect your jaw. Like, we're behaving like animals with supercomputer minds. And we're just not taught to listen. So if I had that sensation come into my body, the key that's really going to change really how we show up as humans in humanity, kind of change societal understanding, is if I honor it just by pausing for a moment to get curious about it, I get to make some real decisions. Because a lot of us feel that sensation and it's full reaction,
Mm.
right? I'm in. Must have been so much, because my brain starts going, why am I feeling that? Must have been something he said. I must be really mad about it. And now suddenly that's all I can see. All right. Like it'll create filters for us too. So, or maybe my body's like, we're going to shut down and get really small and tiny because and so now I've got to get curious. Why do I want to do that? Do I not feel safe? Is this creating, I don't love saying the word trigger, but I've yet to find a better word, but is it pulling up a past story for me of a time I didn't feel safe because of something that was said just now or whatever? So that pause, that breath that everybody talks about, like, oh, I'm going to take a breath and a pause. That's really more so that you can get in your intention and in your conscious mind, which is only 5%. You know that from the talks I'm sure you've been having, right? We only have 5% power. I would offer that we use all of that 5% to get curious. And so we can make more intentional choices. So to me, when I'm having those experiences, or back in the day, which I didn't know, I just knew I needed to do something about it because it didn't feel good, but that's also data. We just need to get back connected to our bodies. We can actually take more control over them. It's just we've kind of like lost lost the reins on the
Yeah,
horse.
yeah. There's something I go through with my clients really when I can see that they're quite reactive, is to try to teach them how to analyze and respond rather than react. So it's taking that pause, and what's worked well with some clients is telling them to just approach yourself when you notice you're having these kind of feelings, etc. Notice what you're noticing, but then approach it like a scientist would. There's no judgment there. You're just trying to get to the facts of the situation, and then respond instead of just outright reacting. So just taking it forward now. So you had that moment in the car, which was the light bulb moment, let's say. What's the adventure been like since that moment to where you are now?
That adventure has been me recognizing that I was trying to be someone other than who I am. Well, let me put that more accurately. When I realized that I wanted to remember that image, that beautiful image of me
I
unzipping
do,
my
yeah,
physical
unfortunately.
self. But that was my like aha moment ultimately, to be like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You've created it wasn't about like my children. I love my children, but a majority of what I realized was that this was because I am not me. And when you're not your authentic self, when you're not really living in a way that feels good to you, because alignment is so simple. We've made it really complicated, I think. Alignment, meaning living authentically, feels good almost all the time. You're not at odds with yourself. You're not compromising yourself. So what it did for me was make me realize, like, I've created and I'm using my little quotation marks, what I thought was my perfect vision of myself. I'm a very powerful manifester. And I literally created the exact life I wanted, and realized that it wasn't that any of these things were bad. They just weren't authentic to me. I created a life that had been curated by my beliefs of what I thought I should want, as opposed to what I truly wanted. Right? And that is a fun, interesting fact, is that we're in this really kind of interesting, everyone always talks about 0 to 7 when we're younger, right? You're 0 to 7. That's this really important, like if you see a psychologist or a therapist or whatever, right? 0 to 7. That's when you're those are these defining moments of who you are. And they kind of are. Your brain is in the very receptive space. Let's come back to primal living. Very receptive to learning who you are supposed to be. Back to my quotation, who you are supposed to be so that you can survive. But it's a very survival based thing, not who you're supposed to be because it's curious, not who you're supposed to be because you wonder. And especially the way we live now, because I hate using all these words. We're programmed, but it is very much like a program. Like I put in a old floppy disk from when I was younger, right? Floppy disk. That's kind of what's getting put
That
in our
makes me
brain,
feel old.
right? Floppy disk. I don't even know what you do. USB now? I don't even know what the do we even need
It's all
those?
in the
I would
cloud here.
yeah, right. I just tap. This time someone just tapped their phone to my brain and I'd become who I was or something. I don't know the equivalent. But it makes sense why from 0 to 7 we turn into these little kind of robot people, because it makes sense from a primal concept. We need to figure out who we need to be to get people to love us so we don't die. That means why our nervous system is hardwired to feel pain in rejection. Because if I get rejected by my mom or dad, they're less likely to feed me or take care of me. And so we get physical pain equivalent to the pain you would feel from getting burned when we get rejected. Right? So of course we're going to take that data and adjust and morph into the people that we think we need to be, and then think that we've created and cultivated or thought of or manifested these perfect lives for what we think we want. But I would offer that we need to feel into what we want. And that's actually how really powerful manifesting goes, from a brain concept, from spiritual concept, all of that. But if I've created this very specific image and I made it happen, and now I find myself in midlife, which is why people have midlife crises, but I call them midlife awakenings, because you're now in a space where you're just like, I get to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I've experienced so much life, and was like, whoa, that's not right for me. How did I get here thinking that was right for me? And you get to go, whoa, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to heal my nervous system. Really important if you've landed in that space. Heal my nervous system, clear out the old junk, old emotions, old stories, clear out the old subconscious, pattern beliefs and pattern behaviors, and get really curious about who I am. And you can feel into the answers of that, because it feels good. When I think about this and do that, that feels good. And it feels so good, I don't even care what the steps are to get there. We keep talking about a lot of things like struggle and pushing. Things that are aligned for you, that training, that effort, that sacrifice, if you will, doesn't even feel like those things. It feels good because you're like, yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, but man, I'm so stoked for where I'm going. Feeling good feels good. Like being on our path, it just feels good. And you're like, oh, that's some really valuable data. It just feels good. This stress and pressure I'm putting on myself because I haven't checked the 92 boxes that I have assumed someone else wanted for me so that they'll like me so I can stay in the herd and not get picked off by a lion, right? Like that doesn't generally feel good. What does feel good? Oh, I want to do this. I like that that's the next step for me. We are the most simplistic, complex beings on Earth. We have a simplistic, primal body attached to a supercomputer mind that blows everything out of proportion. And if we don't get really curious about how they interplay, we are losing. Like we're only playing half a game.
Absolutely. And you touched on so much there.
I know, I start going, and then it's really hard to shut it down.
One of the things that you mentioned that really resonated with me is when you were talking about you being out in the mountains and you have that awe moment, and that kind of resonates with you because that's who you are and that's what you're kind of meant to be doing. So what is it you're meant to be doing?
What am I meant to be doing? Well, isn't that a curious thing? I want to hold that and go back to the fact that you use the word resonate, because resonate is it's part of the program that I teach. It's the kind of final piece, because when things resonate, they feel good. When things resonate, it's an energetic vibration from nervous system to nervous system at the very baseline to however big you want to go with it energetically. We are all energy. So resonation actually feels right. And we forget how valuable just that terminology is. I kind of want to be like, when something resonates for you, friends listening, that's a good sign. means it's aligned for
Amen.
you and where you are. And we don't even, it's in our language and we don't pay attention to it, right? Anyway, the mountaintop. So I love nature. I love it so very much. And it is my way to downregulate. It's my way to calm my nervous system. And I would offer that it makes sense because coming back to that primal evolutionary space, we are, made, we are nature at the end all of it. And there is exponential science that speaks to the fact that simply just being in nature, there's even something called the 3-day effect that will help your physiology in your body get calmer, healthier, safer, well-being, all of that. So it's always been a natural pull for me. And during the COVID era, or whatever, the COVID year, my way of managing the kind of chaos that we were watching, like it was kind of like a silent chaos, was just, that was when I started doing solo trips. I would do solo camping trips into the woods because mostly, and I didn't realize at the time even, I needed to be away from everyone else's nervous system at minimum. And I love my family. It's not that, but our nervous systems are putting out energy and we are, again, primally trained in the background to read other people's nervous system output. Why? Because I'm assessing threat. I'm reading someone's, again, not consciously, if I'm reading someone's nervous system and they're all go time, now I know that that's a danger space. Or they're all wacky time, now I know that that's a danger space. Or they're really relaxed and chill, co-regulation. Now we get to actually help each other come down, which is what, as mammals, co-regulation with our mom. Like it's built into us to be able to understand. That's why it's so fascinating. And I talk with a lot of parents in this because firsthand, I was in a very anxious and overloaded state with my children, right? When we were younger, both my children have I'm working on it with them, but they're pretty anxiety high. But what were they living with? Anxiety high. And we can pretend as parents that or just with anyone, we can pretend on the outside we're all happy or super calm and chill and powerful or whatever. But if on the inside, our bodies are cooking and dumping all these fire alarms off, that person that's with us knows it. Our kids know it. We were meant to read it. So what does that create in a social situation? Is someone who's reading you and looking at you going, your body cues say this, but I don't feel right. And now they think something's off with you. So we're never hiding anything, not to mention little micro facial expressions and things like that. But we're never hiding anything from anyone.
Yeah, and the thing on nature there, and my listeners are going to get sick of me talking about this, but I'm going to ram it in their faces as much as I possibly can because it's so good. So as I was saying, as we were talking before we started recording, and I was talking about my job would leave me with like a physical buzzing fog of noise in my head at the end of the day. But when I'm out there, it's like it physically melts away. It's so incredible just to get out there and just walk. But my place is the mountains. It just melts away and soothes my soul.
It does.
But, it does.
I mean,
it genuinely. If you've ever felt like success isn't feeling as fulfilling as you thought it would, or like there's something more for you out there, but you just don't know what it is, I've got something for you. I host a free webinar called The Power of Vision, 3 Keys to Mastering Your Results. And it's designed for anyone who feels like they should be further ahead, but something's missing and something's stopping them from taking that leap. You can grab instant access at www.ianwhitecoaching.com/The Power of Vision. The link will be in the show notes for you. So head on over and start making a shift towards finding your purpose. Now, back to the show.
It actually does I mean, walking itself is a nervous system regulator. Smelling the polyphenol, no, is that right? Hmm. I'll come back to that word. Smelling the off-put gases, we'll say the easier way, from the trees and the plants actually helps calm your nervous system. Watching the fractal patterns of trees and bushes matches the fractal patterns that your brain is naturally used to taking in. I mean, think about how your lungs look, right? So it is a natural space for our bodies to downregulate. Grounding, like the ions in the air, the grounding into the ground, the earth itself. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that it is naturally creates that effect for us. And the awe effect, like we talked about earlier, is an actual scientifically proven thing. Get your body to feel that sensation of awe. And I mean, they've created entire forests in Japan dedicated to forest bathing, which is going out into nature and being present in nature, being mindful, taking in, using all the senses in nature to essentially downregulate your nervous system. I think in like Finland or Sweden, not entirely sure about which one. I think they play at the top of the hour on like radio stations for 5 minutes, they play bird sounds because that's a nervous system downregulator.
Nice.
Nature's amazing. Nature is the most powerful healer ever.
Funny you mentioned forest bathing. I'd never heard of it before until literally yesterday when I was interviewing someone else, and they prescribe like forest bathing to help build resilience, expressing gratitude and all that kind of thing. It was so fascinating. Funny, never heard it before, and then two in 2 days.
Things are always working out, right? They're little signs. I always believe that everything always happens for a reason in the right timing. And that is, forest bathing's huge. I even take my clients. A lot of the work that I do with my clients, we actually do walking in nature. Why? Because it's easier for us to heal and for us to connect with ourselves so that we can actually get better results.
I read somewhere, and I can't quote the study, but walking side by side with somebody allows you to open up and talk more about more personal things as well. So I find when I've been with some of my clients as well, is when I like to take them out, like I say, and they tend to open up a lot more, especially when it's our first couple of sessions or something. I always want to get out there and do that kind of thing because it helps them open up. And partly I just want to walk. So at any given point, come on.
Yeah. I believe that I believe that men are also more inclined to be able to get more self-aware when they are, like you're saying, side by side. And I think the nature piece is just, again, you're just activating even more calm in the body to get more more self-awareness, more calm, less reactiveness.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about men being in that specific position as well, side by side. Is another study I read. So we have something over here in the UK called, I think it's Manshed, Manshed or something, and it's to help with mental health and everything. And they specifically design their spaces so they're at a workbench, so they work side by side to help them open up more as well, which is fascinating. I think rather than being like face to face, so strange.
Well, eye contact, my big specialty and focus is on working with men and trying to understand their perspective and their kind of, we are not the same, women and men, and we do have very different perspectives, but I would offer the majority of that coming from some level of physiology, obviously, but also our, our surroundings as we grow up. So there is there's so much depth in there that I think is not being accessed or discussed that would be so highly beneficial for men. Women are more inclined to be talkers and want that the look in the eyes and that level of connection. And I think I'm disappointed in the lacking of amount of support for men that is out there, that is directed towards their special way of relating and stuff. And on top of it, the way that societal norms has just been like, you be like this. I don't love that at all. It makes me really sad, actually. Not for men, but just like, that's no fair.
There was we're going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but There was I saw this, you know, you get these TikTok trends or whatever it is, and there was one like men will do anything but see a psychiatrist. So men will go build something and or go in the shed and do something or go off into the mountains and do something rather than go get therapy. And I'm like, have you ever thought that that is the therapy?
Exactly.
Going off and
Yeah.
doing those things is the therapy for us. But anyway, sorry, I went off on them.
No, it's great.
Tell us a little more about the solo camping and what that was like the first couple of times, because I imagine it can be quite a daunting thing for a woman to go off on her own, especially into the woods, as you were saying, doing solo camping for the first time.
Yes. So the first couple times, it was interesting. Again, this was during that kind of COVID area. And I was just like, I've got to figure out a way to get out of here. No blame on my family. I always want to be so clear. It's just, I needed to escape really collective chaos and collective stress, right? Just being anywhere. You can feel it. We are all very attuned people when we pay attention. So I was like, I got to be away from all people. So I did go to some campgrounds, and even though there was an uptick on it, I went to a couple that I was already familiar with. And so I had the safety of knowing there were some other people there. I wasn't totally isolated, but that I also would try to find like the most remote of the campsites to get into so that I could really feel alone. And then it was just a great space for me to sleep at night. And what was really cool is watching a YouTube video woman at the time who was doing really off the grid, way braver than me. And she was explaining how she'd taken her Forerunner and like dialed it in. So I just essentially copied everything she was doing so I could sleep in my car. And like I had this perfect is easy. I take 3 boxes, put them in my car, put my sleeping mat in my car and my pillow, and I'm gone. Like, let's go. Let's do whatever, wherever you're wanting to go. I got this. I built those little covers for the windows so that if I really needed to, I could sleep in a parking lot or something without anybody knowing that I was there. And spending time alone is really empowering. And I don't believe that many of us utilize it as well as we could. And there's a difference between an intentional time away and running away. Alright. If you're in this conscious mindset of, I know I need time away and I'm going to go use this time and I'm gonna check in with myself and I'm gonna listen to my thoughts and be present where I am, so that kind of nature bathing or mindfulness practice, and I'm only gonna pay attention to my own needs, but my authentic needs, because there's a difference again from being in a reactive state and a responsive state, just like you were saying you do with your clients, right? So if I know I'm going away and I'm just like, I'm going to just listen to me. When do I need to eat? When do I need to go to the bathroom even, right? What do I want to do next? And to sit in some silence. And it's not that I never bring my phone or anything, but like I don't know, I just did a lot of hiking, movement, and exploring and being, like, who am I? Really? And that's the beauty of solo time, especially in nature, because you're not interfacing with other people trying to be someone for someone else ever. And it's impossible not to be in some level. No, impossible. That's not true. It's challenging for most of us to not try to be other when we're with other people. It's
Mm.
built into us. Again, don't get kicked out of the herd, that whole rejection thing, all of that, right? We're it's it's built into us, and if we don't challenge it, and it kinda sticks. But to be in nature alone, to hear that silence, to hear the silence of your own mind and body, or the not silence, all of that is phenomenal data. And you get to start really getting curious and doing a little bit more diving into who am I? What a challenging and interesting question. I was on a nonprofit for art, doing art with children where you draw art on the ground, like you're doing chalk drawings on the ground. Really powerful stuff for children and adults. But adults get real hung up on my art won't be good enough. People will reject it, right? Right back to the old stuff. Like it could be this hugely calming thing. And most adults that I ask to do it, they're like, oh, I'm not a good artist. I'm like, I just smush some chalk on the ground. No, I'm not good at it. Do you know that? Like, have you tried it in the last 20 years? So hey, that's how programmed we are, right? Like, that's how afraid we are. But anyway, but this artist who I adore, he said, who are you and why are you here? And he asked me that about a decade ago, and I had no answer. Aside from, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, I'm a fitness instructor, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this, I'm a that, right?
It's
And
amazing how many people hear that question will go to their job and just those typical answers, which I used to do as well. It's
yeah,
crazy.
and it's normal because that's, again, we're just little programmed. I don't mean to say it. So, I mean, we're kind of like program robots by the time we're in our midlife. Really, 95% programmable behavior, 5% conscious awareness. So, unless you do something about it, because you can fix it. But he would ask that question to me, and I would just, he's like, no, 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 who are you? Right. And I'd be like, panic attack. Like, who do you want me to be?
I don't know.
Like right back into this like systematic format of like, I'm a people, I call it people pleasers anonymous, like, because I'm a recovering people pleaser. Why? Best, easiest way to stay alive is to figure out what you want so you won't kick me out. I don't get booed out of the herd and I stay alive. That's why people pleasers are people pleasers. It's not that complicated. It's a safety mechanism. That's it. It's safety. So, having someone ask me that again and again, because he's relentless.
In your face about it as well.
He is, yeah, right? He's like, who are you? And now I would say who I am is just me. I don't even need to have a label for it. Who I am just feels good when I'm being myself. Like we don't have to label everything. We get really hung up on it. And the second we label something and our big old smart old brain just goes, oh, we're that, and then starts immediately putting you into a lot of boxes and stuff.
There's such a purity in that I find. So I struggle even now, and I'm still on my journey. I'm still on my adventure in discovering that. But I find it most when, like I say, I'm out and I'm hiking and what have you, because of that quiet, because of that peace that it brings. And it's funny you mentioned something as you were talking about it. Then you said, "What are you running from? What are you running to?" And that sums up exactly how it began for me. So I was running from that noise in my head, and then it became, oh, okay, I'm not running from anything anymore. I'm running to that peace, that calm, that inner knowing in that moment of who I am. It's such an amazing thing once you capture whatever that is for you. It might not be getting out there and hiking up a mountain and blowing out your ass for a couple of hours whilst you're trying to get to the top.
Right. Yeah.
It could be
I
something completely different, but when you find it, it's so liberating.
it is. And I think the challenge is trying to verbalize it, to give it words, because it's not words, it's a feeling. But we're so trained to, again, make it language, make it a thing, that we lose sight of the fact that it's not any of that. You just know. And if you haven't figured out the just know, so what have they come up with? All, kinds of ways. Flow is a good way that people talk about it that I think makes sense-ish. But I also know that when I was in the middle of my stress, like breakdown, fall asleep at the wheel moment, I mean, literally just feeling so broken, my psychologist said, oh, you should read this book on flow. And I read it. I'm like, I don't even know what are you talking about? Like, I couldn't even identify with it. And that's the tricky part that I feel is what keeps people from getting support. Because I want to come back to, you said I think women are able to connect more with their physical bodies. And I think men are more physical, and that in those moments, sometimes they connect with their bodies, but sometimes it's just the work. And I would offer that the shift for men to be able to find a resource, to be able to get some progress or shift in their life, is connecting them back to the body. because like you're saying, they're already naturally like, well, I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for a hike. I'm going to do these things, but utilizing those moments to with more intention is how people heal, right? Like a double down on the body, because our bodies are really these beautiful spaces to utilize to keep us on our track, to keep us on our path, right? Whether it's emotions or just body sensations, you have to be aware of them and get curious. Like, when I feel stressed out, is it because there's a bear right there? Oh goodness, I should do something. Or is this because of a belief I have? Or is it, so you have to, in that pause, get curious whether it's a no, not physiological, we'll say like a real threat, like a primal threat, or is it a brain threat, if you will? Like, what's real? Because the body, that's the only tricky part that I don't think we're taught to really pay attention to. And then everything kinds of like, then in that chaos inside of both of those things being there, we get really sick, frankly. I mean, let's be honest. What's the aftermath of years and years of stress and emotions that we don't output? Because in order, like, stress gets stuck in the body because it's supposed to be a stress cycle. I feel a thing, have an emotion or, emotion about it, and then I take action in it, and now it's gone. But we don't. Either we feel that emotion and feel we have to hide it because we were taught to. Now it's stress cycle stuck in the body, right? Or we can't take the action because we're like, well, it's not cool to hit people, and that's what my body wants to do. And it's not cool to hit people. But that doesn't mean you can't go do something else, right? But that's a stress cycle stuck in the body. And there's some science that says like every time those are getting in there, like emotion gets stuck, drops like a chemical neuropeptide into the body to remind you that later on you better do a thing to stay alive, right? Because that's how the body's working. So if we're not addressing that collective stress through intentional action, meditation, which I would offer even more, physical movement. The way I manage stress is goes from like the the farthest out piece of your extremity, like fingers, arms, right? You process stress through the limbs first and then the body. So you kind of have to, right? Because we were supposed to either run or fight. So you got to get it out of you that way first, get the norepinephrine and the adrenaline out of you first. And then you can start doing your meditation. Because if you don't get that stuff out, it's like a bear's coming. You're all, I'm going to meditate. You're all, pause, bear. It's super chill. So
Is the bear meditating on me?
yeah, right?
I just had an image of a bear meditating, and I don't know why.
Maybe both of us sit down. Wouldn't that be way cooler? The bear, and when we just decide to like that I'm not your best like food, and then you're cool and I'm cool, and we just shake hands and walk away.
Okay. You kind of you led on to what a question that I did want to ask actually was, if someone is stuck in like a cycle of stress and they know they are, but they don't know what to do, what's kind of one first step that they can do to help themselves?
Look up anything that says nervous system regulation. I would offer that is the best thing. And there is a ton of resources. Well, come see me. Ha ha ha, just kidding. But also not kidding. Nervous system regulation. So, but go for a walk in nature. You love that. I love that. Why? Bipedal movement, nervous system processor. Nature. No judgment, like from a external way, no judgment. Nature doesn't judge you. It's there to listen, et cetera, but also already has built-in calming effects from the, what it's putting out in the air, the ions it's putting out in the air, to the structure of the trees, to the color, everything already resonates in the body. And when you're on that walk, do this eye looking side to side. So you kind of hold your head still, but you turn your eyes and look side to side while you're doing it. Immediately tells the nervous system to calm down. So if that's all you can do, 10 minutes, I would do that.
Never heard that one before.
There are a bunch of ways we can go in and hack the nervous system to relax it. And most of it's body movement oriented. Twisting the body this way. So the way to reverse it, that's the way, like if you're like, I got to get curious about what I could do right away. Well, yoga, a lot of yoga moves are I mean, think about it. Eastern medicine. That's a really fast way to think about it. Yoga, move your body, stretch your fascia. That's a whole nother space. But we won't go into it. But fascia holds a lot of our tension and stress and muck, if you will. But there's a lot of ways to hack the body into calming the nervous system. Obviously, that double breath that people talk about, it's all over
Mm.
everything, where you take that inhale and then take another inhale on top of it. That's a nervous system regulator with this nice, beautiful sigh after. And think about anything that tells your body you don't have to run or fight. So walking, obviously, but things that are in that transverse plane in the body. So stretching side to side. Again, that bilateral movement makes a huge difference. This one's really good because you're crossing over the midline. So you're actually connecting both sides of the brain to go, oh, okay, things seem pretty cool. And you can even just do these little butterfly taps. You can do a hug. Why? Co-regulation, the way you're like, hopefully a parent when you're a child would have done. So giving you a hug, feeling that compression, just real basic. Like, what would you have needed as a child to feel better? We are so intuitively, especially as children, we know exactly what we need. We just kind of forget as we get older.
Nice. And I know we're running out of time. So one last question is, and it's kind of just out of the blue now because we're running out of time. I was hoping I could build to it, but that's fine. what's one what's one big dream or adventure that you haven't yet taken that you want to?
One big dream. Solo, you mean? Or just anything?
Anything.
Maybe I have two. I will say I'll do it quick, but I have two. One is to actually own a huge piece of property somewhere in the mountains and offer it as a space for people to come get. Essentially, take that Japanese nature bathing awesomeness and create a space for people to come get like zenned out. Because for so many people who don't feel safe in the woods or don't know what to do there or whatever, I want to create this space where, yeah, you can come and just chill, because I promise you we're going to create this amazing calm space that everyone needs. And or I'm going to give you some guidance. We're going to do some movement. We're going to do some breath work or meditation or whatever. And try to tease your experiential space and like do some mountain biking or do some rock climbing, because I love all of that too. That's also a cool experience. I love doing those things so that you can engage in nature in different ways. And that it's coming back to full circle to what we talked about, your satellite dish for experience. How do we get your nervous system calm enough so that you can experience life like in HD? That's the goal. Because when your nervous system is stuck in a state of survival, everything gets dull. And it actually does. Literally, your senses don't provide you with the same amount of upness, because it's a safety mechanism for the body to start pulling you out of life, because it feels safer than to engage in it under the duress. So I would say, when my sight, like I had that energy worker do work on me and I left, I'm like, I feel like I can see the world again, like vibrantly again. It's literally because nervous system in a state of depression literally fogs your mind and fogs your experience of life. So come hang out on my property, right? Where it doesn't exist yet, but it does in this kind of like quantum world. Come hang out on my property. Let's go play, because play is also how you heal. If you can't go for a walk in nature, go play. Just go play. Also a nervous system regulator. Big time. If it's fun, just for fun, not for competition. I do love competition, but just fun play. So good for your body, right? What do bear cubs do? Run around and play. We're just animals. But for myself, I'm actually leading a retreat in Peru in 2 weeks. So I'm super jazzed about that, making some of my
Nice.
awesome happen. And one of my big excitement and adventure is really just to be in nature as much as possible. Like, just to continue to explore and get more awe. And I don't really care where it is. Like, there are many places on this planet that I would like to see, and I have honestly not seen that many. I just want to be present in my body and experiencing wherever I am because there is beauty everywhere. And I think we were really intended that gratitude you feel, gratitude is an alignment for the entire physical body. The physiology of your body responds to gratitude, to thoughts of gratitude, also a really good nervous system regulator, right? So the physiology of your body, your heart rate, blood pressure, reacts and responds to thoughts of gratitude. What are we doing when we're in nature at the top of a mountain looking out at the expanseness of life? We're in a state of gratitude. Awe and gratitude are very similar. So the more that I can just even climb the hilltop near my house and see it with a different perspective and sit in the beauty that is surrounds me, and I'm really fortunate to live in a really beautiful place, yay, California, and have access to almost anything you want, like, that's it. It's simple for me. I'm a simple person. I just need to be like present where I am so I can truly enjoy it. So I don't have necessarily this big I always know like I didn't ever really plan to go to Peru. Now I'm going to Peru. Iceland was beautiful. So I always know I'm in the right place at the right time. And when we are in alignment, I make a promise that when you feel good, you'll just opportunities will present themselves because you're in a space of being able to be in reception to opportunities presenting themselves. And that's a big deal.
Beautiful. What a great place to end it. Thank you, Nicole. And just for our listeners, how can they get in touch with you?
So I believe you're going to drop my little website there
I
for
will, yes.
everybody. And I do offer free, like 30-minute talks, especially in relation to a podcast, because honestly, I can offer freebies and all those things, but my strength lies in hearing someone's personal place and then taking all of the information and knowledge I have and giving them like 1 to 3 very clear next steps to feel better.
Amazing. Excellent. Well, Nicole, I've loved having you on. I think we
Me
could
too.
definitely have another one and talk about so much more than what we have today. So I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This has been a delight. I love nature lovers. It's such a pleasure to get on to that alignment, like be walking that ridgeline together. It's great.
Amen. Have you ever felt like business should be more than numbers and deadlines? Like there's an entire world to explore beyond your office walls? Is adventure calling your name? I'm Ian Whitehead and I'm your guide on Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure podcast, where I bring you real stories from visionary leaders who've built empires and climbed literal mountains. Because success isn't just about the bottom line, it's about the thrill of taking risks, the courage to pursue what truly lights you up, and the freedom to chart your own course. Each week we'll dive deep into the minds of boundary-pushing entrepreneurs and adventurers, revealing how they found purpose in the chaos and discovered their true north, both in business and beyond. So, if you're ready to break free from the ordinary, embrace bold action and inject a little more adventure into your life, welcome to Uncharted. Your journey starts here.